Good afternoon. Today I'd like to talk about some of the things we're doing over at WKU. We run a fairly innovative learning model with utilizing our program as a weather operations center for the university. I have a fairly unique title also, the University Meteorologist. I'll explain that a little bit later in the talk. Also Associate Professor of the Meteorology program. Is this working? Is this on? Okay, good. I was hired to help develop the program in 2008. A lot of interest in meteorology because here in Kentucky we get all sorts of things. So here's just a sample of random pictures that I've just taken outside the office window over the years. So we've certainly had our share of winter storms and severe storms, dangerous lightning, and all kinds of stuff. So we have a very enthusiastic student body who wants to come and learn about these things. So the program started in 2008, so we're still relatively young compared to many programs around the country. We are the largest of the two in the state, and our program is designed around the requirements to allow you to go work for the National Weather Service. So Brittany and Evan, who spoke earlier, are examples of that, so good job, guys. Now, as we're developing our program over the years, one of the things I really want to emphasize is, we don't want to be an out-of-the-book, classroom, just a standard old-school type of program. We really want to emphasize getting our students involved in the field, hands-on learning. I try to do a really good job speaking to all the employers around National Weather Service, broadcast offices, private sector businesses, and I just try to really ask, what it is that they're interested in looking for in hiring our students out of our program. And so I've just taken that feedback and just help implement these ideas in the program so that when the students come out, they don't just have good grades and attend conferences like this. I want them to come out and say that they've had some real tangible experiences with their learning, things that are kind of a little bit ahead of the curve, so that when they are hired, that learning curve on the new job is more like hitting the ground running. So that's the perspective that we take. So with that, we want to do something that also gives back to the unit that we're working within. In this case, it's our university, sometimes the community as well. So that as the students are getting this workforce training, someone else on the other end is getting the benefit from that. One of the first things we did, and the talk after this will focus on this, was our Field Methods course. We picked up national recognition for this course. It's one of the best summer programs in the country, where we set out, it's a 4-week course, 2 weeks of that's out in the field, and the students really had to just do all the legwork with forecasting, decision-making, logistics, all sorts of stuff to help us document how well these forecasts turn out. So again, we'll save the punchline for that here in just a second. Then the next thing that came along was we had this space on the left that originally used to be the weather station for Bowling Green, and it used to be an operational station with 2 folks working within it. And over time, as money and technology sort of evolved, it just really truly became literally it became a museum of old weather instrumentation. So it's actually really neat. But the space was starting to get back to a place, once we launched our program, that we wanted to turn it into something that became more useful again. So what we did was we ported the weather museum downstairs in the floor below us, and then we sort of rebuilt the station back. So it actually used to be called the College Heights Weather Station. And we just sort of rebranded that as the College Heights Atmospheric Observatory for Students. So we wanted a place for the students to forecast, to practice meteorology outside of the classroom where there's not always a grade hanging over their head, and a place where they can congregate, learn, and also a place where we can have visitors come in and do workshops and that type of stuff. So on the right then is sort of what it looks like today. On a given day, this is what it might look like when there's a severe weather event. We might be on the horn with the Weather Service, trying to figure out something like the event for Monday or Tuesday. Or here is an AWIPS training seminar. We have the AWIPS suite in the lab, so that's Jarvis from Louisville, who came down to teach the students how to use this stuff. And these are the kind of things we want to learn operationally in the classroom and outside the classroom. But once that got going for a couple years, we wanted to do something even more with it. So we wanted to create something sort of like a product that was coming out of the lab, because the lab was sort of insular. It was something that we were doing, but we weren't delivering content very far beyond the door of the lab. So what came with that was this idea of white squirrel weather. People always ask, like, why the white squirrel? Well, in Bowling Green, and especially on campus, there are a unique population of white squirrels that live there. And our community has really adopted this icon, I guess. We have restaurants named after this stuff. You know, of course, now we have weather outfits named after this stuff. So, so we wanted to use that moniker as like a tertiary icon within the university to you know, give us some recognition to the things that we're doing. And then there's an example of what these things look like. So they're not albino. They're truly actually, I guess they're a gray squirrel with white fur, the dark eyes one out. So, in fact, yesterday when I was walking back up the hill late at night, there were sort of 5 of them, you know, running around right nearby. So you don't see them very often. They're sort of elusive. So when you see them, people are always very fascinated by that. So that's where we went with that. So the idea of White Squirrel then was to create this pseudo-privatized system where students in the program who are interested in the various aspects of meteorology can come and practice this, again, outside of the classroom in a more operational sense. So we've got students that are very interested in working for the National Weather Service, so we have a forecast group. It's sort of modeled after the Weather Service. We have general forecasters, and we have a lead forecaster, which is traditionally a senior student who's about ready to walk out the door. We have a strong uprising in emergency management and weather applications. So we've had some students who get the meteorology background and then go take that to an EM office, which again that's really up the line. And of course, we have the broadcast contingent. We have private sector students that are interested in business. So we want to find a way to bring everyone in and then sort of put that into this system at the university and model that in the application, because that's going to be their real world when they leave. Because sometimes the students come in with a little bit of tunnel vision, like, well, I'm broadcast, I'm not weather service, or I'm weather service, I'm not broadcast. And the reality is we all work together in this field. So this is a way to get them to realize that up front. So one of the first things we wanted to do is get some infrastructure in place. So we worked with this group out of Florida, which is an education outreach group called WeatherStem. And they've helped us install these weather stations around. And we want to do this in a way that's a little bit more in a hyper-local sense. So we're not necessarily interested in forecasting and providing weather data and content and services to the city or to the region. We're really interested in focusing in on specific groups at and within the university. So these weather stations do a fine job of doing that. We have 6 weather stations. We have 2 on our main campus. And we break some of the rules with that. You know, we want our weather stations to be away from obstacles and from trees and whatnot. In some situations, that doesn't work for our audience or the service we're trying to provide. So we've got weather stations inside the football stadium because we want to measure what are the conditions on the shaded part of the stadium versus the sunlit part of the stadium. We measure the turf temperatures for the players. And so now sports, health, and all that becomes part of the equation. We've got a station out on the south end of town at the intramural fields, and of course we've got stations at our regional campuses as well. And as of recent, we've got a whole slew of other stations that are coming online relatively soon. So this is just kind of what they look like and some of the things that we monitor, all the traditional stuff that we're used to, but also including some ground subsurface measurements as well. This is just, again, sort of a collage of our instrumentation around the state. And we've also got a really nice camera up on top of the hill. If you're not as familiar with campus, part of it sits up on the hill, where the hilltoppers. And so strategically we placed this really nice 4K 360 pin zoom camera up on the best place in the county, and so it kind of does a lot of our storm spotting for us. I can zoom in pretty far, get really high detail, and we stream this stuff live through our site as well. And it's proven to be a fantastic instrument. So then the next thing is, once we got infrastructure in place, we wanted to leverage or develop some partnerships so that the students could then start applying this in this real world setting. So one of the things we had to do is get people to understand weather a little bit differently, understand it beyond the TV, understand it, certainly the hardest thing is beyond the app, social media, some of the things we were talking about earlier. And to understand that weather affects everything. I mean, every little thing on campus often has a weather decision attached to it. And for all these years leading up to the last couple of years, the university was ignoring the fact that they had this this weather group on campus that could help them out. And we've been able to now change their minds on that, and that's been wonderful. So, and if you think about it, the university is basically its own city. It has its own fire, it's got police, it's got shopping, it's got food, it's got a large population all concentrated in a small space. So we came up with the idea then that this becomes a great test bed for our students to be real world meteorologists, and for the university to utilize that. So we leverage the university for the experience, for the students, and then they utilize us for the expertise. Everybody wins, and that's what we're after. So once we started having these conversations, we started identifying a lot of the needs across campus. Campus safety being probably the most important one. The news really focuses on, terrorism and shootings and those types of things, but the reality is dangerous weather is the most likely, the most probable threat to occur throughout the year. And so thankfully our health and safety office has really been supportive of this mission. Facilities, air quality, stormwater, controlling of the HVAC systems, campus construction, obviously, campus preparations and events. Now the university this won't sound like it's a true story, but now the university relies on students for making university closure decisions. So I tell the students they have the power to shut it down. But to be fair, and just like on the storm chase, the students drive that class, but we are there to help nudge and mold and vet the final decision. So it's not like, hey guys, you want to shut this thing down? But they did. They shut it down twice last year, and it was pretty cool. Another big one, of course, athletics. We've been doing a lot of training with athletics incidents and evacuations and that type of stuff. And it's just now really bringing the attention of, okay, as WKU football, maybe not this year, but in recent years, has really grown. What do we do if a severe storm hits the stadium when it's packed now? And it's like, oh, well, maybe we should start thinking about these types of things. And of course, there are specific guidelines with the NCAA, with lighting rules, heat rules, OSHA guidelines, and things that they need to follow. And now, because of our instrumentation and our services, they have accountability for that. They can have something to argue with or against it, whereas before there was no evidence to back that. So then, some of the partners we've then developed, mostly on campus and around. Like I said, our primary partner is the Environmental Health and Safety Group, which is where the emergency management comes out of. WKU Police, the big one, athletics, namely football and baseball. However, one of the events that Evan pointed out, and from the first talk earlier, I believe, the February tornado event, that fatal event, one of those tornadoes was headed right for our final basketball game last year, and we were coming home. I think Brittany mentioned we were coming home watching that thing out the left side of our window, and I'm driving, tornado warning storm, already have a fatality noted, and I'm on the horn with the athletics director saying this thing's headed for this sold-out game. And it became quickly like an on-the-road instant decision of, do we evacuate? Do we shelter in? What's the plan here? And thankfully it moved south and sort of dwindled as it entered the county. However, it did sort of come back together, and some of the data showed that I think it produced an EF1 just on the southeast part of town. So those are the kind of things that they're looking for. So we're going to get more involved because we're expecting to have a really big basketball year, more sold out arenas, and higher impact, potential impact events. So that's good. Human resources got involved. Admissions is big, especially from like all the tours that they give. So that forecast becomes important. IT, some of the other things. Parking, transportation is another big one. WKU band even. So you're like, well, what's the band carry? It's like, well, at Notre Dame not too long ago, when they were doing some of the putting people up on the scissor lift, thing tipped over and killed someone. So the band director called and said, hey, can you set up my phone to have a 20-mile-per-hour wind alert so that when we're doing this stuff on the field, I'll know to get down? It's like, absolutely, because they're going up within feet of our weather station, and every time that thing triggers a 20-mile-per-hour wind or greater, his phone goes off. He knows to bring it down. So that's the kind of stuff. And then military and other instances. These are some of the agreements that have expanded out of this. So now we've got private sector and other groups that have come in and are now throwing money and contracts our way. So this is even better, because this is the kind of stuff that our students are going to be able to put on their resume. So we've got, some of these are forecast services, some of these are research-based, and some of these are new developments. So our public broadcast group, for instance, wants to really help with the broadcast side out with radio, podcasting, TV, that type of stuff. So the broadcast element of White Squirrel is really going to take off pretty soon. With fire and emergency management, we have written agreements so that our students can do spotting in a safer, more manageable way. Before, it was traditional storm spotting. Students would go out in the field. Like most things, storm comes in, they report it, but then it's like, what if it comes right at you? Where do you go? It wasn't really a real safe situation. Let alone the fact that it was all dependent upon their schedules too. It's like, okay, we got a tornado warning at 2 o'clock. Well, we got a test. So we sort of rearranged the way we think about that, and now we've got all the fire stations partnered with us on this, so that the students use that as their base for safety, and it gives them internet access on the road. But also, if there is damage, they can safely go out with insurance coverage and everything and do the initial storm assessments with that to then help bring the weather service after the fact and report in on that. So that's good. Amazon, obviously, you probably heard of them. They gave us a call and said, we love what you're doing. The way you're handling it at the university level is something we would like to see on a national scale. And so soon, they are going to be hiring our students to work for them to do similar things. And Jim Beam is another more of a research and monitoring outfit that also is online. So we're really excited about that kind of stuff, because that's what's going to get them jobs, not memorizing some equation out of a textbook. So like I said, some of the services are fairly basic, just reporting of everyday weather data. But as many of us in the room understand that, a lot of people don't understand basic data. You have to synthesize this stuff. You have to show them and how it applies to their specific need. And if you can't do that, that's where some of the miscommunications kind of come in. So. Like I said, with emergency management, athletics, we have all sorts of customized alerts and forecasts for them. Definitely, we are on the horn for forecasts and specifically nowcast support. So if something's coming in, we are there for the play-by-play. And like we said, for the Winter Weather Advisory Board, that's the school shutdown. And again, hyperlocal forecasting for WKU events. I mean, we just had our homecoming parade, and they were very stressed out because of all the rain that we've been having, and they needed to know if they were going to cancel the parade for the first time in 10 years. And because some of the things they were hearing and seeing didn't match up with what they liked to, have a nice parade. But thankfully, students put together a nice forecast that said, okay, maybe a little bit of rain, but nothing dangerous in terms of wind or lighting and that stuff. The parade is on. And within 5 minutes, global email goes out to the whole university. The parade is on, we'll see you at 5. So that's the kind of stuff that makes us feel good. Someone mentioned the eclipse earlier. That was our hardest forecast. Because if it was a storm, that's easy, right? No eclipse. But that was forecasting for a cloud. And a cloud in the way at the right time, and everyone's going, is it going to happen? We've got thousands of school kids coming to campus. We've shut down school on the first day for this thing. Tell us what's going to happen. We're like, look, we'll help you out as best we can. And long story short, we did a really good job, and we played with the eclipse, it will kill the convection. There wasn't enough widespread stratus clouds or something to be in the way. And as the eclipse came on, the small little bit of clouds just all fizzled out. Everything was beautiful. Everything went as planned. Graduations, I mean, all this stuff is really hinged upon the students and their ability to provide this content. Then comes the development side of this stuff. We have an app for anyone who wants to use it. It's free. There's no ads. We will fund the whole thing. We don't want it to be gimmicky. We don't want it to be. We're not trying to make money off this stuff. We just want to provide useful weather content to the WKU community and surrounding areas. The other part of that too is the white squirrel weather idea doesn't necessarily always have to be meteorology. So we actually found a couple computer science students that don't know anything about weather. They're like, hey, I'll code your website for you. It's not perfect. Sometimes it's got issues, but that's okay. It's student driven. It doesn't have to be the most perfect professional thing. That's what the whole idea behind White Squirrel is, that it is embodied and embedded within and comes directly from the meteorology program, and it's 100% coming from the students. So we're really proud of the stuff that we provide on our site. The site's very basic up front, but it can take you all the way, you can drill all the way down to anyone to do any of the advanced level forecasting that you would ever need to do. Besides like getting on an AWIP system or something like that. People always ask, like, oh, when you go on your storm chase, what kind of instruments do you bring? Do you have all the horns and the lights and the whistles and all that stuff? I'm like, no, I have the internet. And the only thing I use is that website. So it's like, oh, how do you find all these tornadoes? Just find this website. That's all we need. We have a really strong social media presence. We've tested a lot of social theories and communication theories with this. As was mentioned earlier, the social media can be a real problem with weather reporting and weather communications. And Edmund in the back of the room has done a fine job leading this march. So we currently have around 5,500 followers, and it just continues to grow each day. So it's moderately entertaining, but it's real basic, and it just gives you exactly what you need to know. No frills. We don't care. We're not here to make money. We're not here to really get you to like us. It's just, we're here, you can do what you want with that information, and that model seems to work. So much in fact that there's this group that I think annually puts out these best in weather things, and we made their top 3 university Twitter accounts to follow. They put White Squirrel Weather up there next to Penn State and North Carolina State, so I'd like to think we're doing pretty well with that. Good job, Evan. Okay, and then other conversations that are arising. I just find some of these things that show up on social media about when there's football games and there's weather hazards or other big events, concerts, whatnot, and this theme keeps emerging about this idea of maybe these universities need to take this stuff more serious. Maybe they need to start staffing a meteorologist in charge of these things. The emergency management groups struggle then, like, okay, well, once we have these calls, we make decisions, how do we handle crowd control when they don't want to leave? A lot of times these big games are general admission seating. Students waited forever to get that awesome seat, and then they're telling them to go leave for 10 minutes and come back and get it. It's not going to be there. So they're like, no, the odds of us being hit by lightning or a tornado right now are pretty slim, so we're going to ride it out. That becomes a real problem. So thankfully, again, WKU has been really supportive of the safety of the students, the safety of our events and whatnot. And of course, the AMS puts out this nicely timed statement back in May about weather event safety and whatnot. And in this document, it talks about the importance of weather safety at universities and how some universities, certainly not many at all, have this onboard meteorologist in charge. And so together, the universities come together and said, all right, we love white squirrel weather, we fully support it, we're going to fund it, and we're going to appoint you in this position. And because of that, then, now the students really get the university support to do all of this training. And that's what hopefully the Weather Service and all these other employers around are going to really like with hiring some of our students. We were doing some of this stuff before. A lot of these, this is not some overnight thing. These are long-term plans that have been rolling out. So it's proved to be pretty successful. So some of the things that our students have gone on to do, certainly the National Weather Service has been a big turnout with meteorological and even hydrometeorological forecasting. A whole slew of broadcast meteorologists. We've got some Air Force weather officers, meteorological modelers within the Air Force, other tangential things, physical science positions. You get so many computer skills and math skills out of the degree that these students sometimes discover that's where they'd like to go with it. And so they move into IT, private sector business stuff, emergency management, like I said, is really big, and just a few other things. And certainly grad school is another obvious choice, as we strongly encourage our students to do that. Just last year alone, out of that group that left, these are just some of the things that our students were able to get out of this stuff. So we had the MRCC intern, Bailey. Raise your hand just so we can bear. There we go. Okay. A number of Weather Service volunteers, Louisville, Nashville, and Paducah even. Some career spots in broadcast up in Madison, a couple over in Hazard, one up in Illinois, one even locally in Bowling Green. And we had a couple of folks get some pretty nice offers for graduate school, one even a Fulbright over in China, which is highly competitive. Another career emergency management position, we had a NOAA Hollings. We had a NASA Airborne Research Program. That's the second, I think that's the second Hollings and the second NASA that come out of our program over the recent years. Something you may hear about or have heard about is a field campaign called the Green X Field Project. We had, I believe, 6 research interns out in the plains this summer working for that. And summer assistantship for a GIS-based conference, and another summer assistantship out at UConn. So in summary, just white squirrel, is sort of it's a multi-pronged idea. It's a way to market our program. It's a way to get our students involved outside of the older school way of thinking, because it used to be all about social groups, and hanging out and developing the program in ways that didn't really do a whole lot to your resume. And now we've flipped that around so that the students work together in all these different arenas, and everything that they do, every step of the way, is something that an employer is looking for. The whole thing is geared for student success. On the flip side of that, it is something that they give back to the community. Everything that they do promotes weather safety, weather awareness, improved emergency management, a more proactive solution to weather safety at our university. So they win on that side. And then at the end of all of that, the greater community will hopefully get a far more skilled, far more advanced meteorologist in their place of business, which then follows sort of the Weather Service mission statement there. That's better protection of life and property. So that's the full circle of white squirrel weather. And the numbers aren't important or anything, but the red line just sort of shows the trend line and the growth of our program. So WKU Meteorology is, we're never intending to be a large, factory program with 200 majors or anything like that. That's not our goal. We currently flow anywhere between around 65 and 80 majors at a time. That's exactly the target we want, because that keeps the more one-on-one interaction with the students going. It allows for those opportunities to flourish on a more one-by-one scale. And let's face it, no students don't want to come to some program that has a history of students not really getting jobs and doing well after it's all over with. So it's all about the students and their success. So with that, we did bring our mobile unit. One of our latest projects was we outfitted an old trailer, and we turned it into, we took the Chaos Lab, and we took that idea and we wanted to place it on wheels so that we could then do hyperlocal monitoring for events. So we've actually had this at a couple concerts and a few other events. We've been bringing them to all the football games. And when you open this thing up, it's got its own internet, it's got a few monitors with a few computers, and it's got all the stuff that everyone enjoys doing weather analysis with, all the fun software and whatnot. And it also serves as a nice outreach tool as well. So we're getting requests from schools to come visit and treat it more like a mobile classroom in the same way. So power is a little bit of a struggle at this location, so I don't know if we'll be able to fully turn everything on, but it's out in the parking lot if you want to swing by and see it after the conference. So with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.